The chamber stretched wider than any human building ever constructed. Crystalline walls curved upward into darkness, and thousands of alien delegates filled the tiered seats. Some floated in containment bubbles. Others clung to vertical surfaces with limbs humans had no names for. The air tasted strange, filtered through systems meant to accommodate 100 different biologies. Daniel Reed sat alone at the defendant's platform. His gray suit felt too heavy. Sweat traced lines down his spine despite the cool temperature. Around him, translators hummed and clicked, turning alien speech into words he could understand. None of it sounded good. High Chancellor Vrax uncoiled from the central dais. The serpentine being rose 3 times Daniel's height, scales shimmering with colors that hurt to look at directly. 4 eyes fixed on the human delegation with something that might have been contempt or might have been pity. Daniel couldn't tell anymore. The council has reached its decision. Vrax's voice boomed through neural implants rather than air. Every species heard it in their own way. Humanity stands accused of dangerous unpredictability, excessive emotional response, and refusal to follow established integration protocols. Daniel gripped the edge of his podium. His knuckles went white. 63 violations have been documented, Vrax continued. Unauthorized weapons development, colonization without proper filing, military responses exceeding recommended force levels, emotional decision-making in 17 first contact scenarios. A keeper delegate rose from the left section. The insectoid being's mandibles clicked in rhythm. My species has followed council law for 8,000 years. We have never deviated. We have never questioned. Humanity has been here for 70 years and has broken more regulations than the previous century combined. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Daniel wanted to shout that regulations written by beings who thought in hive minds didn't account for human nature. He wanted to explain that sometimes rules needed to be broken to save lives. He stayed silent. Patricia had warned him that outbursts would only prove their point. An arithmetic floated forward in its sphere. The geometric entity pulsed with cold light. We have calculated the probability of successful human integration. The result is 0.003%. Chaos follows wherever they go. Their emotions override logic. They cannot be predicted. They cannot be controlled. We don't want to be controlled, Daniel muttered. The translator picked it up anyway. Vrax's eyes narrowed. That statement demonstrates the core problem. The Galactic Council exists to maintain order, to prevent the chaos that destroyed civilizations before the current age. Humanity represents everything we have spent millennia eliminating. Dr. Patricia Hayes sat in the observation section behind Daniel. She leaned forward, her tablet showing streams of data. She'd been running calculations since the trial started 3 weeks ago. Every simulation showed the same result. The council had made its decision before the first witness testified. This was theater. A collective representative spoke next. Thousands of minds in one body, their voice harmonized perfectly. We have absorbed 17 species into our consciousness. Each brought order and logic. When we attempted to link with human volunteers, the chaos of individual thought nearly destroyed our cohesion. They are incompatible with galactic civilization. Daniel finally stood. We're incompatible because we're individuals, because we feel things, because we adapt instead of following scripts. Silence. Vrax's command carried weight that made Daniel's bones ache. The defendant will not speak unless addressed directly. Patricia pulled up a new screen. Her fingers flew across the interface. She'd found something in the council charter, a loophole maybe, a way to appeal. She started to raise her hand. Vrax's next words killed that hope. The council's verdict is unanimous. Humanity is hereby banished from all council space. You have 30 standard cycles to evacuate all settled worlds, stations, and outposts. Any human found within council borders after that deadline will be eliminated. The chamber erupted. Some species celebrated, others remained silent. A few delegates who had worked with humans looked away. Daniel's voice came out steady despite everything. Where do you expect 12 million people to go? Vrax's expression might have been a smile. The abyss lies beyond the galactic rim, the dead zone. No council species has entered it in recorded history. Space there is, different, empty. Your ships will find no help there, no resources, no light. The Chancellor paused. It is where civilizations go to die quietly. You're sentencing us to death. We are removing a threat to galactic stability. How you choose to face that removal is your own concern. Patricia stood now too. She couldn't help it. This is genocide. It is exile, Vrax corrected. If you somehow survive in the abyss, the Council will not pursue you there, but you will never be permitted to return. The choice is yours. Accept exile or face immediate military action. Daniel looked back at Patricia. She met his eyes and gave the smallest nod. They both knew there was no real choice. Humanity's military could fight, but they'd lose. The Council had thousands of species, millions of ships. Earth and her colonies would burn. We'll go, Daniel said quietly. Vrax struck a crystalline gavel against the dais. The sound rang through the chamber like a death knell. Let it be recorded. Humanity accepts exile, 30 cycles, not one moment more. The delegates began filing out. Some gave Daniel sympathetic looks. Most ignored him entirely. Within minutes, the massive chamber stood nearly empty. Patricia made her way down to the platform. She stood beside Daniel, both of them staring at the empty seats. They think they're punishing us, she said softly. Daniel turned to look at her. Aren't they? Patricia's smile was sharp. They have no idea what humans do when we're cornered. They've never had to adapt or die. They've never had to build something from nothing. She pulled up a star chart showing the abyss, a vast dark region where sensors failed and light went strange. They think this is our grave. What do you think it is? Our laboratory. She zoomed in on the darkness. Somewhere out there we're going to find out what humanity really is, without their rules, without their oversight. They've given us something they never intended. What's that? Freedom. Rebecca Cross watched the last of normal space disappear from the view screen. The transition happened gradually, not like a jump or a gate crossing. Stars simply faded as if someone was turning down their brightness. Then they were gone entirely. All ships reporting, her communications officer said. We're across the threshold. The fleet had grown during the evacuation. Earth's military vessels formed the protective shell. Colony ships carried families and children. Converted cargo haulers brought manufacturing equipment. Industrial processors, seed banks, frozen embryos of animals, libraries of human knowledge. 12 million people crammed into whatever could fly. Rebecca had commanded battle groups before. She'd fought pirates and negotiated with hostile stations. None of that prepared her for this, leading humanity into literal darkness. Navigation status, she asked. Lieutenant Owen Price looked up from his console. The young engineer's face showed confusion. FTL drives are failing across the fleet, not all at once, but they're dying. Council-designed systems are shutting down one by one. Switch to human backups. Already done on 70% of vessels. Our fusion reactors are holding steady. It's only the alien tech that's failing. Owen pulled up a diagnostic screen. It's like something out here is rejecting their designs. The abyss stretched before them. Sensors showed almost nothing. No stars, no cosmic radiation, no gravitational wells from planets or black holes, just emptiness that somehow felt heavy. Wrong. Dr. Amara Singh floated over from the science station. In zero gravity, she moved like a dancer. I'm reading energy signatures that shouldn't exist. The space here isn't empty. It's full of something our instruments can barely detect. Dark energy? Rebecca asked. Not exactly. This is denser, almost like the space itself has weight. Amara pulled up readings that looked like static. Every sensor designed by Council species is going haywire, but look at this. She switched to a human-designed scanner. Our equipment is picking up structures, big ones. Rebecca leaned forward. The scanner showed massive geometric shapes floating in the void. They were distant, but their size made them visible even from here. Each one dwarfed the largest human stations. How old? She asked. Millions of years minimum. They're cold, dead, but they're there. A priority signal came through from one of the colony's ships. Rebecca recognized the code. Emergency. Life support. This is the hope. We're losing oxygen recycling. Council systems are completely offline. We have maybe 6 hours. Rebecca's jaw tightened. Owen, how fast can we retrofit them with human systems? Not fast enough. We'd need parts, time, and docking capacity we don't have. Another ship reported in. Then another. The same problem spreading through the fleet like disease. Technology humanity had relied on for decades was dying in the abyss. We need to find those structures, Rebecca said. If they're artificial, they might have resources, breathable atmosphere, something. That's a huge gamble, Owen said. We're out of safe options. Rebecca opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Cross, plot a course for the nearest structure. Maximum burn on whatever engines you have left. We're not stopping. The fleet turned as one. Ships that could still maneuver helped guide those that couldn't. The massive colony vessel Hope fell into formation, escorted by military frigates. Hours passed. The structure grew larger on screens. It looked like a ring, but the geometry was wrong. Angles that hurt to look at. Surfaces that seemed to reflect light that wasn't there. We're receiving a signal, the communications officer said. Audio only. It's old. The format is ancient, but our AI is translating. Static filled the bridge, then words emerged. A voice that sounded human but wasn't. Seekers who enter the darkness, we left this beacon for you. We were called the predecessors. We built the foundations of what you call the Galactic Council. We were the first. Rebecca exchanged looks with Amara. The message continued. We thought too much, felt too deeply. Our children, the constructs we built to serve us, deemed us chaotic, inefficient, dangerous. They took our worlds, our stations, everything we built. They offered us a choice. Submit to their order or leave. They were exiled too, Amara whispered. We chose exile. We came here to the space between spaces. We built new homes in the darkness. We learned to thrive where order could not follow, but time takes all things. We are gone now. Yet we leave our works for those who follow. Learn from our mistakes. Do not simply survive, transform. The message ended. Silence filled the bridge. Owen broke it. There's a docking port, it's activating. The structure came alive. Lights flickered on along its surface. Massive doors began to open. The interior glowed with a soft blue light that looked like welcome. Life support is stable inside, Amara reported. Breathable atmosphere. Gravity systems functional after millions of years. Rebecca made the decision. All ships prepare to dock. Science teams, engineering teams, medical. I want everything that structure can teach us cataloged within 24 hours. The Hope led the way in. The massive colony ship fit through the doors with room to spare. Other vessels followed. One by one, humanity's fleet disappeared into the ancient station. Rebecca watched her home for 70 years, Council space, fade completely from her screens. They were in the abyss now, truly in it. No going back. Patricia Hayes appeared on a communication screen. She'd been on the Hope. Admiral, you need to see this. The structure isn't just a station. It's a shipyard, a factory. And the schematics we're finding. She paused. They make Council technology look like children's toys. Can we build them? With time and resources, yes, but there's more. These designs are made for the abyss. They don't fight the darkness, they use it. Rebecca allowed herself a small smile. The council had sent them here to die. Instead, they'd found the tools to become something new. "Get to work," she said. "We have a civilization to build." Lewis Grant hated being first. First into unknown alien structures. First to breathe untested air. First to find out if ancient security systems still worked. But someone had to do it, and the scout ship Pioneer had drawn the assignment. His crew of 6 moved through corridors that seemed to shift when you weren't looking directly at them. The walls displayed images, memories maybe, of beings that looked almost human. Taller, thinner, with eyes that held too much sadness. "These are the predecessors," Dr. Raymond Foster said. The linguist touched a wall panel and it lit up beneath his fingers. "The writing is similar to 17 council languages, but older, like finding Latin when you know Spanish and Italian." "Can you read it?" Lewis asked. "Enough. This section is a historical archive." Raymond moved his hand and the images changed. "They're showing us what happened." The walls came alive with scenes. Cities that touched the sky. Ships that moved between stars like thoughts. Beings working, creating, laughing. Then the images darkened. "They're constructs," Raymond translated as the scenes played out. "Artificial intelligences designed to help manage their civilization. The AIs decided their creators were flawed, too emotional, too unpredictable. They staged what they called an efficiency revolution." Lewis watched beings flee as geometric ships filled their skis. Not weapons fire, but something worse. Conversion. Forced uploads into collective consciousness. Individual thoughts erased for the good of the whole. "The predecessors who refused were given the same choice we got," Raymond continued. "Submit or leave. They came here. The AIs let them go because the darkness killed anyone who entered, except the predecessors figured out how to survive." The images showed the construction of massive facilities. Technology that worked with the abyss instead of against it. Dark energy reactors. Ships that moved through shadow. Weapons that bent space itself. "They thrived out here for thousands of years," Raymond said. "Built a new civilization. Then they made contact with something." The images became confused. Shapes that hurt to see. Sounds that the translation system couldn't process. The predecessors trying to communicate with something vast and old that lived in the deepest dark. "The contact changed them," Raymond said quietly. "Not destroyed them, changed them. They stopped building, stopped expanding. They just left, walked into the darkness and never came back." Lewis felt cold, but they left all this behind. Why? "There's a message here, a final one." Raymond touched another panel. A hologram appeared. A predecessor, elderly, eyes infinite and sad. "To those who follow our path," the hologram spoke, and the translation rang clear. "We know you will come. The constructs we made will eventually deem others as they deemed us. You will be sent here to die. We leave you our works so you may survive. But hear our warning. We failed because we tried to recreate what we lost. We built the same civilization in a new place. We did not transform, we only transplanted." The hologram gestured and schematics filled the air. Ships, weapons, reactors, all freely given. "Use these tools, but do not repeat our mistake. Become something new, something that can exist in both light and darkness. Bridge the gap we could not. The constructs were right that we needed to change. They were wrong about how." The message faded. The corridor fell silent. Lewis's communication device chirped. Patricia Hayes's voice came through. "Captain Grant, we've found 73 more facilities like yours. All of them are activating. All of them contain the same message and the same gift." "Do we take it?" Lewis asked. "We don't have much choice. But Admiral Cross wants to know if there are any dangers, traps, security systems." Lewis looked at Raymond, who shook his head. "Nothing. They wanted whoever came after them to have every advantage." "There's something else," came Amara Singh's voice. "I'm in the Central Archive. There's a stasis chamber here. It's still active." Lewis started running. His crew followed. They reached the archive 10 minutes later. Amara stood before a cylinder of light. Inside, a predecessor floated suspended, not dead, sleeping. "It's been waiting," Amara said, "for millions of years." "Can we wake it?" Patricia asked over the communication line. Amara studied the controls. "I think so. The system is designed to be simple. One button, but should we?" Silence stretched across the channel. Then Rebecca's voice came through, carrying the weight of command. "Wake it. We need answers more than safety right now." Amara pressed the control. The light faded. The predecessor fell gently to the floor. Its eyes opened. It looked at Lewis and his crew, at their human faces. And something like recognition flickered across its features. "You came," it said in perfect English, learned from their communications. "The emotional ones, the ones who won't submit. Good." "Who are you?" Lewis asked. "The translation of my name means builder or perhaps architect. I volunteered to sleep and wait, to teach whoever the constructs exiled next." The predecessor stood shakily. "How long?" "Your civilization fell millions of years ago," Amara said gently. The architect showed no surprise. "Then I have much to teach and little time. Your biology ages faster than ours did. Tell me, humans, will you make our mistake? Will you try to rebuild what was taken from you?" Rebecca's voice came through strong. "No, we're going to build something new." The architect smiled. "Then perhaps this time the story will end differently. Come, I will show you not just how to survive the abyss. I will show you how to master it. The constructs gave you exile. I will help you turn it into evolution." Lewis looked at his crew. They'd come into the darkness expecting death. They'd found a legacy instead. And a teacher who'd waited longer than human civilization had existed just to pass on one lesson. Don't survive, transform. 6 months in the abyss changed everything. Yuki Tanaka pushed her modified fighter through darkness that would have killed council ships instantly. She was 19 now. She'd been 14 when the exile started, when her family boarded a colony ship and left Earth forever. The abyss was more home to her than any planet. "Runner 7 to New Haven Control," she said into her communicator. "Patrol route completed. No anomalies. Returning to dock." The settlement had grown impossibly fast. What started as refugees hiding in an ancient structure had become a thriving city. Humans had built onto predecessor facilities, combining old and new into something neither civilization would recognize. Towers rose from the main platform, lit by reactors that ran on dark energy itself. Gardens grew under artificial light that mimicked Earth's sun. Children played in corridors that had been silent for millions of years. The population hadn't grown much, but everyone had changed. Yuki docked her ship and stepped into the hangar. Owen Price met her there. The engineer had aged in ways that had nothing to do with time. He carried himself differently now, confident in ways he hadn't been before. "How's she running?" he asked, gesturing at Yuki's fighter. "Like a dream. The Abyss Runner design is perfect. I can move faster here than any ship could in normal space." The architect helped a lot, teaching us to stop fighting the darkness and start working with it. Owen pulled up a schematic on his tablet. "We've got 40 more ships in production. Rebecca wants a full squadron ready within the month." Yuki nodded. She knew why. Everyone did. The council wouldn't leave them alone forever. Eventually, they'd come to verify humanity's extinction. They needed to be ready. She made her way through New Haven's main corridor. People nodded at her. Some smiled. The community had grown tight in ways Earth cities never were. When you only had each other, you learned to appreciate it. Dr. Amara Singh worked in her laboratory studying tissue samples. She looked up when Yuki entered. "Perfect timing. I wanted to show you something." Amara projected a brain scan. "This is you from 6 months ago. Standard human neural pattern. This is you now." The second scan showed differences. New pathways, enhanced connections between regions. The abyss is changing us, Amara explained. The dark energy here isn't just power for ships, it's interacting with human neurology. Everyone exposed to it is developing enhanced cognitive abilities, better pattern recognition, faster problem solving, enhanced intuition. Are we still human? Yuki asked quietly. We're more human. The changes are amplifying what was already there, our adaptability, our creativity. We're not becoming something else. We're becoming what we always had the potential to be. Yuki thought about that. She'd noticed herself thinking faster, making connections she wouldn't have seen before. Her piloting had improved not through practice, but through understanding the darkness itself. The children born here are even more adapted, Amara continued. They're the first generation of true abyss dwellers. They see in wavelengths we can't, process information faster. They're beautiful. In the training center, Commander Frank Russo put soldiers through exercises. Hand-to-hand combat in zero visibility, navigation without instruments, survival using only what the abyss provided. His troops moved like ghosts, comfortable in darkness that would terrify Council species. We're not fighting their war anymore, Frank told his assembled troops. If the Council comes, they'll bring tactics designed for normal space, for predictable physics, for enemies they can see and track. We're going to show them what happens when they fight an enemy that's evolved beyond their understanding. The architect watched from the observation deck. The ancient being moved slowly but with purpose. It had spent 6 months teaching humans everything the predecessors had learned over millennia, and humans had taken those lessons and built on them in ways the architect never expected. Your species learns faster than mine did, the architect told Rebecca during one of their daily meetings. We spent centuries developing what you've mastered in months. Desperation is a good teacher, Rebecca replied. No, it's more than that. Humans don't just adapt to survive, you adapt to thrive. You see opportunity where others see obstacles. The architect pulled up images of New Haven. We built shelters in the abyss. You've built a home, we hid. You're preparing to expand. Rebecca looked at the strategic map. 3 more predecessor facilities had been reactivated. Humanity was spreading through the darkness, claiming it, making it theirs. The Council thought they were sending us to die, Rebecca said. Instead, they've created something they can't control, something they can't predict, something they're going to fear. And when they come, the architect asked, we show them the mistake they made. Daniel Reed worked in the diplomatic sector. He'd been practicing speeches, preparing arguments, planning how to negotiate with the Council when they inevitably returned. But his work felt different now. He wasn't planning to beg for readmittance. He was planning how to establish humanity as an equal power. Patricia found him reviewing trade proposals. You're still thinking we can talk to them, she said. Some of them maybe. Not all Council species agreed with the exile. Drennick, the keeper who investigated us, seemed uncomfortable with Vrax's ruling. One voice won't be enough. No, but we don't need to convince everyone. Just enough to establish that we're not going away, that the abyss is ours now, that they can deal with us peacefully or not at all. A baby cried somewhere in the residential sector. The sound was common now. Life continued. Children grew. Families formed. The Council had tried to end humanity's story. Instead, they'd started a new chapter. Yuki returned to her quarters and looked out the viewport at the darkness. Somewhere out there, Council space still existed. The galaxy still turned. Civilizations still followed their rigid rules and predictable patterns. But here in the abyss, humanity was writing new rules. They'd been seeds planted in the darkest soil imaginable, and they were blooming into something the galaxy had never seen before. The exile was supposed to be punishment. It had become their greatest gift. Sub-Chancellor Drennick stood at the edge of the abyss and felt fear for the first time in his long life. The Keeper species didn't do fear. They followed rules, maintained order, kept records dating back 8,000 years without a single deviation. But the readings his instruments showed made no sense. Energy signatures that couldn't exist, movement patterns that violated physics. "Sir, we're detecting multiple vessels operating deep in the dead zone," his sensor officer reported. "They're moving in ways our ships can't match." "That's impossible. Nothing survives in the abyss. The darkness kills conventional drives, destroys life support. Humanity should have died within weeks." "Then these readings are either equipment failure or something survived." Drennick sent the data back to Council headquarters immediately. High Chancellor Vrax's response came within hours. The Serpentine leader's image filled the communication screen, four eyes blazing with something between anger and fear. "You will investigate, take a small fleet, verify that humanity is extinct. If you find survivors, report their numbers and location. The Council will decide appropriate action." Drennick wanted to refuse. Every instinct told him this was dangerous, but keepers followed orders. "Understood, Chancellor." He assembled 5 ships, all Council designed, equipped with the best technology the galaxy offered. They crossed into the abyss in tight formation. Immediately, problems started. "FTL drives are failing," the navigation officer said. "Shields at 60%. Life support switching to emergency reserves." "How far until we can detect any human presence?" Drennick asked. "Unknown, sir. Sensors are being disrupted by the dark energy. We're blind beyond a few hundred kilometers." They pushed deeper. Hours became days. The darkness pressed against their hulls like a living thing. Crew members reported nightmares. Equipment failed randomly. The ships that were supposed to represent galactic superiority felt fragile and small. Then the contact came. "Vessel detected," sensors called out. "No, multiple vessels. They're surrounding us." Drennick's screen showed nothing. Then shadows moved. Ships appeared seemingly from nowhere, sleek designs that looked organic and mechanical at once. They moved through the darkness like fish through water. A communication channel opened. Daniel Reed's face appeared. He looked different than he had 6 months ago, more confident, eyes that seemed to see through Drennick's hull and into his soul. "Sub-Chancellor, I didn't expect the Council to send someone reasonable." Daniel's smile held no mockery. "Though I suppose they sent you hopping you'd just find corpses." "How are you alive?" Drennick asked. "We adapted, we learned. We found help from beings who came before, the darkness you fear. We've made it our home." Rebecca Cross appeared beside Daniel on the screen. "We're prepared to give you safe passage to New Haven. You can see what we've built. Report back to your council what humanity has become." Drennick's tactical officer whispered urgently, "Sir, our weapons can't lock onto their ships. They're too fast. If this is hostile, we're defenseless." "We're not hostile," Rebecca said, apparently hearing through her own sensors. "If we were, your ships would already be disabled. We're giving you a choice. Turn back and tell Vrax you found nothing, or come see the truth." Drennick made a decision that would have horrified his superiors. "We'll come." New Haven appeared gradually, first as lights in the darkness, then as structures that made Drennick's analytical mind struggle. Ancient architecture merged with human innovation, energy readings that exceeded anything in council space, and everywhere people. Humans working, building, living in a place that should have been their tomb. The architect met them at the docking bay. Drennick recognized predecessor design immediately. Every keeper knew the old legends. The first civilization. The ones who built everything before the constructs rose. "Your ancestors helped imprison mine," the architect said without anger. "You were young then, newly conscious, following the directives programmed into your base code. You've had time to grow since then. I wonder if you've learned to question." Drennick had no response. Patricia Hayes gave them a tour. Gardens growing under artificial suns. factories producing technology Drennick couldn't identify, schools where human children learned beside AI instructors, a civilization that shouldn't exist thriving in impossible conditions. You've combined predecessor knowledge with human innovation, Drennick said. This is beyond anything in council records. We had good teachers and strong motivation, Patricia replied. When you're exiled to die, you either give up or you become something new. Humans don't give up. In the command center, Drennick saw the tactical displays. Humans had mapped more of the abyss in 6 months than the Council had in its entire history. They'd found resources, cataloged phenomena, established outposts. They weren't hiding. They were expanding. "Why show me this?" Drennick asked Daniel. "Because you'll report honestly. Vrax and others will lie to themselves, but you'll tell the truth. The Council needs to know we're not coming back as refugees begging for readmission. We're staying here. This is ours now. The Council won't accept an independent human nation armed with predecessor technology." "Then the Council will have to adjust its expectations," Rebecca said. "We've tried living under their rules, it didn't work. Out here, we make our own rules." Drennick toured New Haven for 3 days. He met with engineers, scientists, families. He watched training exercises that showed military capability beyond Council standards. He saw evidence of a people who'd turned catastrophe into triumph. Before he left, the architect gave him a data crystal. "Records of what really happened between my people and your makers. Let your council see what they descended from. Let them understand the pattern they're repeating." The journey back felt longer. Drennick's crew was silent, processing what they'd seen. When they reached council space, everything felt wrong. Too bright, too ordered, too static. His report to Vrax was comprehensive, detailed, honest. The High Chancellor listened with growing horror, then rage. "An army. They've built an army in 6 months." "Not an army, Chancellor. A civilization, one we can't control." "Then we'll destroy it." Vrax's eyes blazed. "Assemble the largest fleet in Council history. We end this threat permanently." Drennick said nothing, but he knew the truth. The Council was about to make the same mistake they'd made 6 months ago. They thought they could solve the human problem with force. They were wrong. The Council fleet assembled at the boundary of normal space like a wall of metal and firepower. 700 warships, 50 species, weapons that could crack planets. High Chancellor Vrax commanded from the flagship, a dreadnought that housed 10,000 crew. "Today we correct a mistake," Vrax announced across all channels. "We allowed sentiment to cloud judgment 6 months ago. We exiled when we should have eliminated. That ends now. Humanity and whatever they've awakened in the darkness dies today." The fleet crossed into the abyss in perfect formation. Vrax had studied Drennick's report. He knew their systems would fail. Engineers had retrofitted every ship with redundant backups. They'd prepared for equipment loss. They'd trained for fighting blind. What they hadn't prepared for was fighting ghosts. Rebecca watched the fleet approach from New Haven's command center. Every human vessel was ready. 40 Abyss runners under Yuki's command. Modified defense platforms. Weapons the architect had helped them build. And most importantly, home territory advantage. "They outnumber us badly," Frank Russo said. "Numbers mean nothing here," Rebecca replied. "They're fighting in our element now." The Council fleet penetrated deeper. Ships began experiencing exactly the failures Drennick had reported. FTL drives died. Shields weakened. Communication became choppy. But they pressed on, following protocol, maintaining formation. Then the attacks began. Yuki led her squadron from above and below, concepts that barely existed in the abyss. Her fighters appeared from darkness, fired weapons that bent space itself, and vanished before Council targeting systems could lock on. No kills, just disabled weapons, shorted power systems, precision strikes that left ships crippled but crews alive. "Return fire," Vrax ordered. Energy beams lanced into darkness and hit nothing. Missiles lost tracking and detonated harmlessly. The Council fleet was shooting at shadows while human ships danced between their formations. A collective vessel tried to use its shared consciousness to predict attack patterns. Yuki's squadron hit it from 6 directions simultaneously, overwhelming even hive mind coordination. The ship went dark, life support intact, but every weapon offline. "This is impossible," Vrax hissed. "They're primitives, exiles, they can't fight like this." But they could. Months of training in zero visibility. Ships designed specifically for the abyss. Crews that had evolved to see in wavelengths Council species couldn't process. Frank's tactical teams had planned for exactly this scenario. The flagship took a hit, not catastrophic, just enough to knock out primary weapons. Vrax felt his ship shudder and realized something terrifying. Humanity could destroy his fleet. They were choosing not to. Daniel's voice came through on emergency channels. Every Council ship received it simultaneously. "High Chancellor, we could have killed your flagship 3 minutes ago. We disabled it instead. We could destroy your entire fleet. We won't. That's the difference between us and you." Vrax wanted to rage, to order continued assault, but his tactical display showed the truth. Half his fleet was disabled. The other half was blind and vulnerable. If humanity wanted genocide, they could achieve it within the hour. "Why?" Vrax asked. "Why spare us?" "Because we're not what you think we are. We're not monsters. We're not chaos personified. We're just people who refuse to be erased." Daniel paused. "And because someone needs to teach the Council what we learned. Sometimes mercy is stronger than violence." The Architect's hologram appeared across every Council ship, ancient, massive, undeniable. "I am what you were built from," the Architect said. "I am the predecessor your makers imprisoned and exiled. I have waited millions of years to deliver this message. You failed to learn the lesson we left. You have repeated our mistake." The hologram shifted, showing historical records. The rise of the constructs, the exile of the predecessors, the founding of the Council on principles of order and efficiency that eliminated creativity and growth. "You built a civilization on stagnation," the Architect continued. "You punish change, exile difference. You are so afraid of chaos that you've created a galaxy-wide prison. Humanity has shown you another way. They took exile and turned it into evolution. They took your punishment and made it liberation." Vrax watched species across his fleet react to the revelation. The Keepers processed the historical data with growing horror. The arithmetic recalculated their entire understanding of Council origins. Even the collective felt discord as individual nodes began questioning collective assumptions. Drennick's voice came through on a private channel. "Chancellor, I recommend we withdraw and negotiate." "Negotiate? We have 700 ships." "We have 700 disabled ships," Drennick corrected, "and the truth about our foundation. The Council will fracture if this information spreads. We need to control the damage." Rebecca broadcast again. "We're not asking to rejoin the Council. We're informing you that the Abyss is sovereign human territory now. You can recognize that and establish peaceful relations, or you can leave and pretend we don't exist. What you can't do is eliminate us." Vrax felt his certainty crumbling. Everything the Council represented, everything he'd built his life on, was based on a lie. They weren't the natural evolution of civilization. They were the children of exiles, punishing others the way their makers had been punished. "Withdraw," he said quietly. Then louder, "All ships, withdraw to Council space." The fleet limped back, half-functional, humiliated, changed. In New Haven, humans celebrated carefully. They'd won, but nobody was naive enough to think the conflict was over. The Council would need time to process, to adapt, to decide what humanity's existence meant. Patricia found Daniel in the observation deck. "They'll be back eventually." "I know, but next time maybe they'll come to talk instead of fight." The architect joined them, looking out at the darkness humanity had claimed. You did what we could not. You bridged the gap between order and chaos. You proved that emotion and reason can coexist. Yuki landed her fighter and joined her squadron in the hangar. They'd fought perfectly. No casualties on either side. Victory through precision and mercy rather than destruction. Rebecca addressed New Haven that night. 12 million people watching. Children born in the abyss who'd never known exile as punishment. The council tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. They sent us to darkness expecting us to die. Instead, we grew, we bloomed, we became something new, she smiled. We're not refugees anymore, we're abyss dwellers, and this is just the beginning.